But I wanted to welcome everybody to tonight's session of Muskies Mondays. My name is Meg Albrink, and I'm the Director of First Year Experience here at Lakeland. And I've been at Lakeland since 1999. I've served as a member of the faculty, a member of the administration, and have some direct engagement with students in those roles. But I'm really happy that we have the folks on the call tonight that we do, because they have a lot of other opportunities to engage our students and to make sure that you have a full and supported experience while you're here at Lakeland. So I will stop chatting and ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. And maybe just for the sake of clarity, we'll go in alphabetical order by last name. So Karen, would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us your role and tell us a little, maybe a fun fact about yourself so we can get to know.
Thought about that.
I know I tricked you on that one, didn't
All
you?
right, well, I'm good on the spot. So my name is Karen Eckhardt. I'm the director of our Heiston Academic Resource Center, and I am coming to you live from my kitchen in Sheboygan. I've been with Lakeland, it'll be coming up on 2 years this fall. I have an extensive background in K-12 special education, having worked as a public school teacher for a number of years, and then as an education professor for the UW system before coming to Lakeland. So I have a very strong approach on working collaboratively with my team to make sure that we're meeting all of our students' needs. Fun fact, and Julie knows this because I just posted it on Facebook. So I'm a zucchini freak, and I just ate like an entire pan of zucchini puffs. So, I'm not sure I'm going to be feeling too well later. But everybody's like, I've got zucchini that are this big. And I'm like, I know what you can do with those puffs and pancakes. Savory zucchini.
All right. So we'll have to get a recipe later.
They're good. So welcome tonight.
Thank you, Karen. Alex?
Yeah. My name is Alex Liosatos. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm the director for counseling services at Lakeland University. And I've been at Lakeland for about 8 or 9 years, I think. I lost track at some point. And on campus, I see students for individual counseling, but I also plan events and programming, some of which are educational, some of which are fun, just to get people to get to know me and the other 2 part-time counselors, which will be in the fall. We'll have 3 counselors altogether. So yeah, I really enjoy working with students, and I look forward to meeting the new students as they come in. So a fun fact is, well, you can probably hear I'm not American, I'm actually British. And I've been in this country for more than 20 years though. So I will admit that even though I sound British, the only really British thing still left about me, aside from that, is that I drink about 8 to 10 cups of tea a day. So there's your fun fact, and I will now be eating them with zucchini puffs. I'm going to look for that recipe.
There you go.
Very good. And Julie?
Hi, everyone. First, I don't know why my camera is kind of fuzzy. Like, it's never actually done that before, so I don't even know how to troubleshoot. So I'm sorry. If you want to see me clearly, then come visit me on campus, and that'd be great. I'm Julie Mavity Maddalena. I'm the chaplain at Lakeland. I'm also the director of our Ulrich Center for Faith, Ethics, and Justice, which is the center that spearheads diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives on campus. And I'm also assistant professor of philosophy and religion. So I stay busy, but I love my job because it's mostly about making sure that our students know that they are loved and that they belong, and that you're always welcome to come see me and talk about whatever you want. It can be religious, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm just here to support whatever you need. And then also we do work obviously around equity and justice issues. Fun fact, I grew up in Texas, but I've also lived in the mountains of Colorado, and in Atlanta, Georgia, and in Massachusetts. So we actually just moved here 2 years ago from Massachusetts. So I'm just finishing up my 2nd year at Lakeland. So excited to see you all, and to see you all on campus in the fall.
Excellent. Well, thanks for those fun facts. I always learn something new about everybody when when I ask that question. It's a pretty simple one, but it's amazing what you learn. So thank you for sharing your fun facts with me. And yes, so I guess it's only fair that I share. I do have an octopus on the bookcase behind me. Some people are like, what is that? And it's a stuffed octopus because I like octopus. So there you go. Fun fact about me. So tonight's topic are the support services that we offer at Lakeland. And I want to hear a little bit about each of your areas. Before I do that, though, I want to ask our guests if anybody had a chance to view your videos ahead of time, because I know that you put a lot of great content about what services your department offers, how we can contact you in those videos. And I want to respect the time that people may or may not have spent on, had time to view those ahead of time. So for those guests, could you raise your hand if you were able to? Okay, May says she was. Was anybody else? You can use the raise hand function. Okay, Mendy says not, May says yes. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that we do have some who have seen it and some who haven't. So I think maybe what we can do is start with a really general question for the group. And the general question is, what kinds of support in your area do you see students needing when they come to Lakeland as a new student? What are some of the most common, what are some of the most normal kinds of needs that you see in the different areas that you support? So let's start with the academic support, the Academic Resource Center. Karen, what are some of the most common academic needs that you see students having when they arrive at Lakeland as a new student?
You know, I would say that the answer to that is that they don't always know what they need yet. The distinction between high school and college rigors is very great. And some students have coasted through high school and didn't need a lot of support. Others may have relied on a great deal of support. They just haven't quite made that connection to what's available in college. So freshmen often aren't sure of what they need yet until they end up kind of in a little bit of a crisis situation. Maybe they get their first midterm, or they're late with their first assignment because they were unsure of how to read a syllabus. So it's hard, you know, to answer services that are most often sought after by our first year students because they don't actually know yet until they really develop a need. And the beauty of having a small, connected, collaborative staff is that we're all kind of in each other's business. So athletics is supported by academics. The chaplain's office and Alex here in counseling, we meet monthly to talk about issues and things that our students are presented with. So we really stay connected as a team, which is a really great approach to working with your first year students. I think when it circles back to me, I'm going to talk about three main areas though, which is our tutors, our peer tutors that are on campus, our study groups and our academic workshop type activities, and the accommodations. If a student has any type of educational needs, we can talk about accommodations. So I'll let you circle back to me.
Actually, I mean, if the others are okay, let's stay with that for just a minute, because I think this might help explain some of the bridge that you're seeing students trying to cross from that high school experience to the collegiate experience. So in terms of ADA accommodations, what are some of the things that you can help a student do, for example, if they had an IEP in high school, or if they are experiencing that challenge in a course, what are some of the support services that the HARC can provide to them?
Sure. So for the disability accommodations, if a student did have an IEP or a 504 plan in high school, and if it's been reviewed within the past 3 years, it's quite simple to just transfer those services in a similar fashion to Lakeland. The key difference is when a student had experienced course modifications and very specialized instruction in high school. That does look very different at the post-secondary level. So our faculty work really well with our students if there's a need for perhaps an extension on an exam, if a student maybe needs a reduced distraction testing environment, they can come up to the HARC and take their exams with me in a small private testing room. Some students have medical conditions that are acute and chronic. For example, migraine headaches, those are very hard to predict, and a student may end up, needing complete darkness for a couple of days. If they have an accommodation in place with the appropriate verification, then we can work with the professor to make sure that a student is not penalized for some late work because of the onset of a migraine. So we do work really close with medical providers, educational professionals, counseling and behavioral health professionals to help document the needs for some of those accommodations. So if that sounds like that might be your student that's coming to us this fall, what you can be doing is reaching out to me, letting me know that there was an IEP in place, and we'll try to get those services transferred. Sometimes students may or may not have struggled in high school and they're just not sure of what's available for them when they get to college. So they're afraid to ask and they don't want to be identified. They're used to going to the resource center in their high school and they just kind of want to blend in. So it's really important that your student understands the confidential nature, that it's only me, that we meet, and I've worked with families for so many years. I respect the need for dignity and confidentiality. So it really ends up being a really nice partnership, and I see the students all the way through their graduation. So that is one area. And then the other area that's really kind of universally provided for all of our students are those peer tutors. And these are tutors that have taken our courses at Lakeland, that have done well. They are recommended by faculty, and they cover almost all of our undergraduate courses in all of those disciplines: biology, math, psychology, science, the world languages, business, sports management, exercise science. I'm just trying to think computers, if I can rattle them all off. But we do have peer tutors that students can meet with either individually or in group sessions. They can do in-person sessions, they can do virtual sessions. It's unlimited, it's free, it's available to all students. You do not need to be on academic probation or get referred by a professor. If you're feeling that coming in the gate that maybe biology is a struggle, let's get you set up with a tutor right away. We also have time management tutors. Those have been really instrumental in helping our busy students stay on track. Again, as a mom of a former college students, I know we're used to kind of helping them get to where they need to be, schools, jobs, all those things, but they're really on their own when they come to Lakeland, and managing their busy schedules is a challenge. So many of our students have been very successful working with time management tutors once or twice a week. They take out their planners, they look at all of the syllabi for their courses, help them learn how to break those tasks down and to get their schedule into a much more manageable, responsible, accountable way to stay on track. And then we also have writing tutors that are available and trained in the specifics of writing to help students in all courses across all disciplines. So the tutors are very visible. They usually go to all the classes and introduce themselves. All of the professors typically remind their students that there's tutors assigned to all of their classes. It's easy to schedule appointments. I can make the connections, students can connect on their own. So it's a pretty nice, easy system. We also offer some organized study tables, study groups. These are Tuesdays and Thursday nights. They primarily started to support our student athletes in meeting their academic goals as well as their team goals. This year, we're really hoping to open that up to our first year students, where we're using one of our very beautiful the oldest building on campus, Old Main. Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, we have tutors available to support students either in some group sessions or individual sessions. Time management tutors are there. And it's just the idea that we are giving you 4 hours of specified study time. We're going to build it right into your schedule, and your coach is going to want to know that you've been there. So attendance is taken, and it's just a really nice, students have appreciated knowing that every Tuesday and Thursday night, they've got to head over to Old Main and get their homework done. So I would say that those are probably the main areas and activities that are kind of sponsored by our resource center.
And it sounds, Karen, like a lot of those things would be just a normal part of the first year experience. So if you're on an athletic team, it would be incredibly typical to have your coach say, you know, we're going to use the resources at the study table. You may not think you need them, but let's try it out. Let's get it started. And then you're right in the place where you can ask for help if you need additional assistance. And
Right.
the same thing might be true, you know, whether a student is using a tutor or seeking accommodations. These are ways that we try to keep that pathway from one experience through the Lakeland experience open and accessible for all students.
Right. And we know that not every student participates in athletics. So this year we're making sure that we're really communicating all of these services to all of the resident assistants too. So all of the RAs are going to make sure that they are letting their residents, their freshman residents, know that study tables are open for all of them, regardless of whether or not they participate in sports.
Yeah, that's great. Great. Thank you, Karen. I'm sure I'm going to think of some other questions. So
I'm listening.
I'll let you catch your breath.
Well, I've got the Bachelorette on, so I'm going to kind of another fun fact.
There you go. So, Alex, may I turn the question to you then? What are some of the things that you see as common reasons that students seek support from our counseling and wellness services when they come as new students to Lakeland? What are some of the typical things that you're able to help them with, or that the department as a whole is able to do for them when they need that kind of support?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important to point out that you don't have to have a mental illness to come to the counseling center or to make an appointment with a counselor. Health is mental health. It's all one thing. And so we do get students coming in the first semester often because of the adjustment to college and the difficulties they're finding adjusting to. It might be the environment, it might be to new people, it might be to having a roommate. There are various kinds of adjustments that you have to make. And sometimes it can bring up symptoms that seem like anxiety or depression, but actually they're part of just the adjustment to college and may be temporary. So I think a lot of students come in with unexplained symptoms. So they might say, you know, I'm just not sleeping very well. I'm not getting more than a few hours a night, or I can't get to sleep, or I'm feeling stressed out and I don't know why, or I'm crying a lot and I don't know why. So often we can put their minds at ease and say, you know, it can be just adjustment to a new environment. It can be homesickness, and we have a lot of people come in for feeling sad because they're missing their families or their pets or the things they used to do. So that kind of adjustment is a big reason that people come in the first semester. But we also see people for generalized stress. The typical age group for first year college students, of course, don't want to generalize. Sometimes symptoms can appear as well. So it's important to have them checked out and maybe have a screening. Because if stress turns into anxiety, then perhaps you need more support than, you know, just talking to your friends, because we're neutral, we're professionals, we're a neutral source, we're completely confidential. And while we do collaborate with other departments, we never share any names of people or anything like that, unless there's an imminent danger, of course. But I would say, yeah, unexplained symptoms, stress is a big one. But we also do see students for academic concerns. So while Karen's department has those tutors for time management, and I've heard great things about those tutors, by the way, you know, we might be able to supplement that and talk to students about procrastination, lack of motivation. You know, I can't seem to get things done. And we can look a little bit deeper into that. So yeah, a wide range of things. And we always say, you know, no problem is too big or too small. But I say those are the main things we see in the first semester.
Great, thanks. And so where is your office located, Alex? I forgot to ask this of Karen, but I'd like to hear how students would find you. I know that Karen said, you know, she's at the study table, so that's an easy way to connect with her. She's also somebody that you might connect with when you're setting up your accommodations arrangements. But where would we find you, Alex, on campus, and how would students begin that conversation?
Mhm. Yeah, we're housed with the purveyor health services. We contract out health services. We're on the same premises, and we're on the ground floor of Brotts Hall, right opposite campus safety. So usually students make appointments through email, either directly with the counselors, and you can see our bios and information about us. Not yet the 2 new counselors, that's coming up soon, on my.lakeland on the counseling page, and on the general lakeland.edu page as well. So you can directly contact us by email, or you can call the front desk person 1034, and then Sheila is the front desk person. She'll put you in touch with one of the counselors to make an appointment. So yeah, either way, email or call us, and we're in Brotts Hall. So we don't usually take walk-ins for appointments unless it's a crisis, because often we're busy. But if you want to come in and get some information about counseling, there's always somebody there on the front desk to help you.
Great, thank you. And Julie, tell us a few things about what you've noticed. I know if you've been here for 2 years, you've seen really different fall terms, right? You had a regular fall term and you had a strange start fall term. But I'm sure that from that experience, you do have a sense of what kinds of things might bring students to see you in the chaplain's office or in the Ulrich Center. What are the kinds of support that your team is able to provide for new students?
Sure. So, a lot of times when students first come to college, it's a new environment, and it can be unsettling. It can be exciting, and sometimes there's a desire to connect with the familiar, as well as excitement about experiencing new things. And so, for students for whom their religious and spiritual life and community was really important to them, being in a new place can feel sort of disconcerting, and it can be helpful to be connected to other people who share similar interests, similar values, similar practices, and it can be a time to really sort of ask some questions and explore where you grew up, and new and different practices and communities. And so we try and meet students wherever they are. So we offer worship services on campus on Wednesdays at noon. We offer sort of a pretty simple sort of reflective service, and then like once a month on Sundays we try and offer services that sort of pull from a variety of religious worship styles, but there's other spiritual and religious life groups on campus, and then also if you just need help finding a religious community that's outside Lakeland, we can help you find that. We can help you find a group. We can help you figure out transportation, or if you're just wrestling with stuff. I love having those conversations. I love walking with you through anything, whether you need affirmation or a place to wrestle with some things, or whether you just need a listening ear and it doesn't have anything to do with religion or spirituality. I'm not a therapist, but I'm a really good listener, and am happy to just be empathetic and to help you connect to resources that would offer you further support. But it can really be about whatever. And I do have a little bit more flexibility, so you can always pop by my office, or you can reach out to me and we can set up a time to meet and to talk about sort of whatever. I think I've talked about just about everything. Every once in a while, students worried they're going to shock me. They want to talk about something, and I'm like, I have not yet been shocked. We'll put it that way. So maybe take that as a challenge. I don't know how you want to, but I'm just here, and sort of that is related to the work that we do with our Ulrich Center for Faith, Ethics, and Justice, which is all about having ethical conversations about what are the issues that are impacting your lives and that are impacting the world around us, and how can we explore those and talk about those in meaningful ways and in constructive ways. And so we try and have programs throughout the year where we bring in speakers and panelists and also just prompt conversation between students. And we're also there to have the smaller conversations. If you want to get connected with an affinity group, like we have our Black Student Union, our Latinx student group, our Alphabet Soup group, which is our LGBTQIA group. All of those groups are out of our office, and we can connect you to those. We can connect you to resources to help as you process or if you need support. We work on helping make the campus live into our values more, and our values are, again, of belonging and inclusivity and equity. And so anytime if you feel like we're off, or if you have an experience or encounter that feels like we don't quite aren't quite living into that mission, which that will always be the case. We will not ever quite have it down, but we're here to listen and to be a sounding board, and to be a space where you can come talk to us. I have an amazing team. If you watched the video, you got to meet the assistant director, as well as the director of our student initiatives, Lachey Guy, and she is fantastic. And we've got a couple other folks that work with us and students that work with us, and it's new. The collaborations are new, and so it's a really great time to get involved and to give us your input and to give us your feedback. But also just we try and make some safe spaces on campus. So there's a new center up on the 3rd floor of Old Main called the Center for Community Equity and Belonging, and it's a place to hang out and there's resources there, or there's just spaces to chill. It's a good place for meetings, and it is across the way from another space that actually Karen and Alex and I all created together called the Oasis. And that is a space for mindfulness and meditation, as well as interfaith prayer. So we do have a chapel, but we also have a space with prayer rugs from all sorts of different religious communities. There's biofeedback, there's Zen tools, there's what all is there? There's so many things. There's like weighted blanket. It's just a small room where you can go and just reset and relieve some stress and anxiety in sort of whatever way is meaningful for you. But we're really excited about that. That is also new. We weren't able to operate it during the pandemic. And so that is also on the 3rd floor of Old Main. And then where you can find me and Lachey, if you took a tour there was the Muskie Mart, which was the convenience store. And that's actually going to be me at some point in the fall, maybe hopefully early in the fall. So I'm bracing myself for a lot of people to walk by my office and be really disappointed that I'm not the Muskie Mart anymore. So I'm going to try and have like candy and granola bars and I don't know, something. But yeah, but the Muskie Mart's actually going to move to the Ware Center, the athletic center, so they can make it bigger and more wonderful. And my office will be there, and then Lachey's office is just directly across the way in the Lauer Center. And both of us are just here to help you feel welcome and that you belong, and to know that we care, and whatever form that might take. So yeah, did I get that?
That's great.
Okay.
That's great. I like thinking about you as our convenience store. That's kind of.
I'm telling you, I've got big plans for like candy jar and granola bars and.
That sounds great. And Karen, where is your office located?
Yep. So again, if you've had a tour and you've had a chance to see the library, then you've been up to our 2nd floor. It's a newly renovated space. It's our new Heiston Academic Resource Center. And it was designed with a lot of intentional spaces. It's kind of a casual environment with some casual furniture arranged in little groups. There's study tables. There are 2 reduced distraction testing rooms for students that have testing accommodations. And then there's 2 larger study rooms that are outfitted with large screen monitors. So it's a really dynamic space, and that's where you'll find me, is up there in the HARC.
So it sounds like folks are either really centrally located or at least privately located so that you can find them pretty easily. The counseling center is in one of the first year residence halls. The HARC is in the library. The chaplain's office is in the campus center, and the Center for Diversity, Equity, Community, and Belonging is in one of the main classroom centers. So we really are distributed throughout campus. But I'm also hearing that there's some overlap, that when a student has a question, you don't necessarily need to know who to start with to explore that question. That, you know, I'm hearing there's some dialogue among the different offices, and that if a student is able to just start somewhere, we'll get them to the resource that's going to help them the best. Is that something that you've experienced in your work, that a student comes to you with a question about their grades and then you end up helping them find Alex, or Alex hears a question about you know, some big life questions and she helps them find Julie? Is that something that you've experienced as you've worked together over the past few years?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like that's why, you know, reach out for help, and we know who to refer you to if we can't help you, or we think somebody else's help would supplement ours, and we'll pass you along, of course, with confidentiality as well in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And as well as the coaches also, the athletic coaches know who we are. And so we do communicate. And I've had coaches over time meet with me confidentially about students that they know are having some academic struggles. And then I have often met with some of those students individually just to help get them really to develop a better path. So it is really a nice gift of having a small college. Most of us have been parents, our parents, and we understand, you know, what it's like to have those questions, and their mom and dad aren't right there. So we do really bounce a lot off each other.
Great. So one thing I think I heard, and I'll ask this question and invite our participants to think of questions that they may wish to ask as well, because we certainly want to hear from you. But I think I heard this, and I want to say this back to the group to make sure I heard this correctly. So you don't need to be on probation to use the tutors. You don't need to have a mental illness to see the counselor. And you don't need to be practicing a particular faith tradition to see the chaplain. Does that accurately capture the level of openness that you hope students understand about your support areas?
Well, I think it really drives the importance of a maintenance approach, that we try really hard to make sure that students aren't coming to us almost when it's too late, especially academically and emotionally, or if they're ready to go home and they could have been getting help. So it is very much proactive. I think we're all very visible. We promote our services throughout all kinds of different campus-wide events. And it is a very proactive, welcoming approach, I think, to all of our services.
So would you say that there are some common misconceptions about your areas that you would like to use this opportunity to debunk?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. You know, I said that I can't be shocked, and I will just reiterate that I think people think that they have to be super religious or super faithful or super good. Like, it's not okay to cuss in front of me or things like that. And just that I live in the real world and I'm a very real person, and am happy to talk about whatever, and just to be a support, that I'm not actually here to judge. I'm not trying to convert anyone to anything. I'm trying to support our students and our entire community where they are and what they need, and not any sort of agenda that I bring to other than the agenda of love, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true where I am on that one.
Yeah, thanks. And I will add that, You know, coming for counseling doesn't mean you're going to enter into therapy and be there for 5 years. We have students come in for consultation appointments, which can be as little as 30 minutes. And then they just talk through something briefly or ask a question about something or meet us to see if they think that counseling, more ongoing counseling would be good for them. So sometimes we see people once, sometimes you see people once a week, sometimes once a month, just whenever they feel like it. So there's not that you're going to be in therapy for the rest of your life. It's we are very, very flexible in terms of, you know, how we operate.
Tutoring services are the same. Sometimes it's kind of a one and done. They're kind of stuck on maybe an algebra issue that they can't get beyond, and it's just a one-time session and then they get it and that's fine. Many students report the reason that they've done well in school is that they've met with tutors on a regular basis from the get-go. Our tutors have seen tutors. So it's really something that we know that it's just, it helps to maintain the high GPA. It's helped a lot of students maintain their eligibility for their athletics and their other extracurriculars. And seeing a tutor doesn't mean that you are learning challenged or learning disabled. It means that college is really hard and we just need to talk it through somebody that's taken the course before. So.
Yeah, and I've heard students say too that one of the reasons they like talking with the tutors is it simply is a way to hear the content explained in a different way. You know, that, you know, you might get the direction or the guidance one way in the classroom from your faculty member, but that, you know, hearing it in a different voice or with some different language can help clarify in a way that's useful for them. And I think we've all been in those experiences where if we just hear something a second time, or we get the chance to say it out loud, it sticks in a new way, or we process it differently when we can have that second pass, or when we can participate in constructing the information that we're getting. Yeah. So I'm asking if our participants have any questions for the group. You guys have done a really thorough job of explaining what kinds of services are available through your departments, but also the kind of ethic of care that you use to approach the questions you receive and to guide students. Is anybody on the call? Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask one of our team members?
Mine's not really a question. It's just, first of all, I'm very thankful for all the support services you mentioned. That's really encouraging. And my concern is my son would need academic support. And I loved all the tutoring that you mentioned. I'm thinking, oh, great, he should go there and there and there. And then my concern is that he won't take advantage of that tutoring service without either me, or he's going to be playing football, or a coach telling him to go. So I guess my question is, how would you recommend me as a parent to highly suggest he take tutoring, or to actually get started already, maybe in the beginning with sessions before he doesn't even, I don't know how to say it, but I want him to be introduced to it, I guess, right away.
Well, the nice thing about Coach Bruton and the football team is that they do attend study tables. I believe they're doing one of the nights, either Tuesday or I think they're doing Thursday nights because they've got a practice conflict on Tuesday. The football team also has, Meg, are they persistence coaches? Is that what you would call, like Patrick and?
Yeah, they have coaching staff who are explicitly responsible for making sure that the student athletes are keeping track and getting ahead with their homework, making sure that they are understanding the different obligations. So Coach Johnson is the person on the football team who has that role.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see your son, Mendy, at study tables. And the time, I think what I've really learned that the biggest challenge isn't always the academic rigors, although they are great once they get to college. But the biggest challenge really is just getting everything organized and getting things turned in on time and not missing deadlines.
Yeah.
So having those time management tutors, and I think I have 8 on staff this fall, and we are really promoting getting those students connected right away, setting up weekly appointments. I can't tell you how much that has helped students. And eventually they don't need the tutor anymore. They kind of get into the rhythm of, oh, this is what I have to do every Sunday to map out my week. This is how I plug in practices, studying, schedule, work, everything. And eventually it's just a skill that they learn. You know, it's an important skill that they have to just develop over some time.
I think the other thing that I would say about that is we're going into the fall with the assumption that every new student, and in fact, many returning students, had a really weird year last year. And we all had a really weird year. And so I think that's what makes the resources, the departments on this call, even more important than ever. Because even though a student may have been able to manage the challenges that they faced while in high school, that doesn't mean that they had the totally typical senior year. And so some of those expectations shifted, and some of those requirements shifted. And we want to be sure that students understand that it's okay to start out with questions, but that it's also okay to ask for help. I work with a group of students who find themselves on probation after the first semester or two. And what I ask them at the end of every term is, so what do you wish you knew at the beginning of the term that you know now? And they all say, I wish I knew how easy it was to ask for help. I wish I knew how accessible help was. And so I keep trying to say it at the beginning, but we all know that sometimes you don't feel like you need that assistance until you really feel like you've run out of your own options to kind of figure out how to do things. And I do think that the last year made those options a little stranger for students. They might not be at their fingertips in the way that they perhaps were in a different year. So please, I think as a parent, reassure your student that it is really, they are going through something that is new. Whenever you go through something that's new, there's a learning curve. Learning is uncomfortable sometimes, whether it's learning how to get along with a roommate or to navigate a new environment. And we expect them to have some disruptions, but we're here to catch them when they do. And many of us are ready to do that for them. So I think if you can reinforce that sense of normalness, that, you know, it is really it's just transitions are weird, and we're here to help them through that. I think that can be really helpful from the home side. Any other questions that folks may have? All right, well, as I said, we'll stick around here for a minute or two more as we end the call, but I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. We have a couple of more Muskies Mondays to go. Next week, our topic is student engagement and athletics. And then the last Muskies Monday is we're hoping to have some faculty here so you can hear about you know, what to expect for the fall term. So we are grateful that you chose to join us. You're free to watch the videos that are online on our Orientation 2021 website. And we look forward to welcoming everybody in the fall, which is coming very quickly. So enjoy the last few days of summer. They're going to be great. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
So